All right, welcome back to the Fake Trick News, where every week this isn't Fake Trick News. Should we start doing Fake Trick News again? Let me know below, or watch those videos if you haven't before. Maybe you like them, maybe you'll think they're dumb. I don't know. So what this actually is today is I wanted to sit down and talk about Waltz and Waltz graphics and how I go about developing Waltz skateboarding graphics. So if you don't know, Daniel Trujillo and I are the owners and operators of Waltz Freestyle Skateboards. We make decks, wheels, apparel to basically make it easier for you to go out and freestyle, do the tricks that we do. One of the best parts to me of running Waltz for the last 3 or 4 years has been making graphics. Now, I'm not a professional artist by any stretch of that term, and I'm totally self-taught from drawing to design to how people print my stuff, all of that. I'm totally an idiot when it comes to that. But I've been lucky enough to have friends who've taught me a couple of things. I've been lucky enough to have YouTube videos and people who give me tools to make this process easier. And this is me kind of sharing my magic with everybody, hopefully. So today I'm working on a new board graphic, I think. Like most of the graphics we have, they kind of spur from inside jokes or just sort of funny ideas that Daniel and I or friends and I will have. And today, similar to the Descending Corgi graphic, we're gonna be working on a nekomata, which is a Japanese two-tailed cat in the style of a Japanese salaryman. So hopefully I don't offend anybody, but I'm gonna draw one today. My process for making graphics always starts in my sketchbook. Now this one started with a really, really rough pen sketch and then a top graphic actually that I wanted to incorporate in this board as well, which it might or might not end up being on there. Now from those sketches, from those real roughs, I move on to getting inspiration and references and existing pieces of art to sort of draw from and draw inspiration from. In this case, I went online, I was looking at tattoos, I was looking at old ukiyo-e prints, I was looking at new school stuff based on those old prints, and just everything in between. The one that I really liked was this guy right here. And the beautiful part of Illustrator and of making your own board shapes is that I can actually drag in our silhouettes, our board shapes into the artboard and start working directly off of that. And I'll begin with composition and just rough construction lines for this cat. And like I said, we're going to be going with this sort of looking to the side shape or kind of this other hula dancey pose. So I'm not going to trace this because I feel like that's cheating. I'm going to start throwing down some construction lines. Pro tip, separate your layers and label them. Now from here, I'll kind of play with this little square. So the last corgi had this box behind him. We're gonna have a box around the same size behind this guy, a little 2x3 box behind him, just to kind of fill him out. And then we'll have Waltz kind of going down here. So we'll have a vertical text, and this will eventually be in our typeface, and it'll be boxed out. So that's roughly how it's going to look, right? Kind of scale it up a bit, center it. Yeah, that'll work. I mean, the dog itself is facing to the left. I mean, it would make sense, I think, to have a piece that sort of fits like a yang to this yin, right? So I like the shape of this cat board, this pose, I should say. And then I kind of feel like I want to have the Waltz on the right side so that, again, it fits in that little crevice. But with the arms the way they are, unless we shorten that arm, I think it would work better to have it going down that way. It's kind of the beauty of this phase in it. Before we really start making any lines and committing to any ideas, we really get to sort of play with this and run with these ideas. And I know this is really just gross, like sketch lines. Like I'm not unaware that this looks like garbage right now, but for the sake of getting the idea across and just being able to look at it and process it with my crazy brain, this is how I have to do it. I'm actually really liking it with the cat kind of positioned to the right side, this box centered on the graphic. We may even be able to have the cat's head turn the other way. These are things we can play with. But next we're gonna move on to sketching. So this is where I actually start kind of blocking out the clothing, how it's gonna fall, and kind of more of the actual look of the piece and not so much just getting the composition down. I'm gonna switch to blue, stick with my small brush. It'll just give me regular old lines, and I'll go in and start actually thinking about how I want this cat to look. This is where the heeing and hawing really comes into play, and I start getting real annoying.
Try your wings. If you've always had a dream, but you've been afraid that it would not come true. Hitherto, if you've never been in love, and you're longing for the happiness it brings, try your wings. But you've been afraid that it would not come true. Hitherto, fall in love and you will find that it's just what you've been dreaming of. If you've never been in love and you're longing for the happiness it brings, try your wings. If you've always had a dream, but you've been afraid that it would not come true. Hitherto, if you've never been in love and you're longing.
Oof, that's rough. Not the cleanest sketch I've ever had for one of these things, but you can see we have kind of three images we're pulling from here. We've got this happy cat guy, the original dancing cat that we were kind of referencing here, and then we have for the garments this original Nikomata that I was taking from the tattoo on my leg. So we have three different sort of images that we're kind of mushing together like a real crazy rap song, just sampling things. And now that I'm done with the sketch, I'll start playing with lines. So I'll actually start by making a pressure sensitive calligraphy brush. Since I'm using a Wacom sketch, I do have a nib that allows me to vary the width of my line based on pressure. I'll go in and I'll just see, yeah, so you can see the taper, the variation I have here in the line. Now that I have that, that'll be kind of my go-to line brush for when I'm doing these initial lines. And again, I want to maintain this sort of ukiyo-e style to the cat. Because if you remember, I like his suit. If you remember with the corgi, we kind of have these sort of lines that are used the same way that distinguish like fur. And I already have sort of these spots I can picture myself using that. Now we're going to go in and it's going to get real finicky again as I try to lay down these lines. And if people out there who are real artists and like really actually good at what they do are going to be like, man, you backtrack so much. And you're right. It's because I work digitally and I can. So you can go eat a sandwich, buddy. I'm pretty happy with how this looks now. I had to kind of shrink the head a little bit. I'm still kind of tinkering with these lines because there's just a lot going on. Where things are sitting for the most part, I think right now I just have to play with a lot of line weights and clean up lines. That's a wrap, I think, for tonight. I might chip away a little bit more at this tonight, but for now it's like almost 8, I think. Relax and then come back at this tomorrow. And then we'll get some color blocks down. I don't know, make it more easy to look at. Because right now it's hard to look at for me. But what do you think? Let me know at this point what you would have done differently if you like drawing. So I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, off to skate. Let's go.